And welcome back to the show. Lendistry is a minority-led and technology-enabled small business and commercial real estate lender. Now, the organization recently announced that it'll provide funding to the Empire State Development's New York State Seed Funding Grant Program. And joining us now to share more is the CEO of Lendistry. We're pleased to have Everett Sands with us. And Everett, thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Appreciate being here, Darren.
Thank you. And listen, it's an opportunity, I think, for some people to be able to tap into some funding. Let's talk about what Lendistry is doing.
Yeah, for sure. So we ran the New York Small Business Recovery Grant. And for those that are out there that are watching us, listening to us, it's really important to know that that program is also still available. So if you don't mind, I just make sure that they know that, because that's coming to an end here. And that program allowed for small businesses that needed COVID relief to receive grants based on their revenue size. It's had a couple program changes, but one of the things that we noticed is that those businesses had to start by June 1st, 2019. And so the governor's team was able to help us look at some of those rules based on some suggestions from communities and others inside of the state, and say, well, maybe there should be another program. And so now there's New York Seed Grant, which allows for businesses that were started at September 1st, 2018 or later, because as you know, we've had a significant amount of new businesses form in the state. A significant amount of those businesses are minorities, which traditionally are starting their businesses with less access to capital. And so the New York Seed Grant is there to help those businesses that maybe weren't able to participate in another program, and those that are starting out new, that have the ability to show that they've started their business, they've spent some money in terms of that, whatever it took to start up their business, and now receive grant funds, which grant funds are the same as getting equity without obviously having to give up any portion of their business.
So this definitely is going to help some businesses out, particularly who fall within that timeline. What are you seeing by way of businesses coming forward right now?
So can't give exact numbers because it's not my data, it's the state's data. But let's just say a significant amount of businesses are applying. We appreciate that this program is what we would call relatively light. We've run about 20 of these different programs for various states, relatively light in terms of the information that it's asking for. We would encourage, though, all businesses to apply as soon as possible, even if it's going to take them some time to maybe get their paperwork together, because like anything, there's not enough money for everybody potentially. And we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to apply.
Yeah. So when we talk about the grant itself, being able to give these small businesses a boost, give me a little bit of insight, because when we talk about businesses, sometimes I think we take for granted how a little bit goes a long way. So when businesses are able to get this money, what are some of the things that they're able to do?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, the basics, which could be things like renting out a space, paying maybe back rent as well, being able to hire team members, or being able to pay for those wages that they may have now. PPE is still in existence, right? So things related to COVID, in terms of how the infrastructure of their business, or how they might set up their desk and different things like that, or set up their retail establishment, licensing, or whatever they might want to do in terms of going forward. So what I think about is the Department of Transportation in New York has some significant opportunities coming up. There's several contracting opportunities as various organizations inside of the state have increased their MeBe and WeBe requirements. So maybe they want to get that certification, or maybe another type of license or certification. Again, what comes to mind might be like a contractor certification, an additional contractor license. They might be licensed on a municipal level, but maybe they want to go to that state level to be able to apply for some of those RFPs that are either out there or coming up soon. So a variety of different things they could use it for. I'll just call it traditional business infrastructure, but I'd also say some of those plans they might have for going forward.
Yeah. What are we hearing from businesses, given the fact that COVID-19 has had this huge impact? Can you give us some details in terms of what you've heard from small business owners and their plight, given the fact that many of them had to shut down, some of them had to deal with no staff or little staff? What have you heard?
Yeah, so I in some ways you hear about this kind of great, the great kind of recession. You hear about a lot of layoffs. You hear about a lot of people just leaving their jobs and things like that. I think it's a very interesting time for small businesses. So on the one hand, yes, we did go through a pandemic, and yes, there were these times where things seemed to be dire. On the other hand, there's never been a history in the US where there have been so many programs, whether you go back to the PPP or you come forward to things like the New York Seed Grant. And then I think what there's also an opportunity to recognize is that there's a tremendous amount of labor force that are leaving their jobs. They are starting up new businesses. So I think for some of the businesses, there's some chances here to have collaborations on projects, possibly hire some new team members, and possibly think about ways where they could be expanding some of the opportunities. We've also never had things like a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. We've had things now like not exactly in your neighborhood, but close to your neighborhood, so to speak, with the One Brooklyn Health System coming together. That's $600 million. So I think there's a lot of things out there where, the businesses have got some real strategic opportunities. So again, I don't want to be the half glass full, half glass empty type guy, but I think there's some opportunities that we're kind of coming out now, and there seem to be some greener pastures. Again, recessionary conditions are what they are, but I also feel that minority businesses specifically are fairly resilient. So that means, maybe you got to charge an extra dollar for the pizza, maybe an extra 50 cents for the beer, but you can actually get through these conditions.
Yeah. So for somebody that wants to take part in this, what is the process? Somebody might be watching saying, I'm a small business out there, and I definitely need to try to get some access to some resources.
No problem. So nyseedgrant.com, NY like New York, seed like a plant seed, and grant.com. They go on that site. They will then find, I would start with the application guide because it literally spells out how to get through the process. It even gives pictures of every single screen. Again, we're going to encourage them to apply even if they don't have everything right in front of them. So what I mean by that is maybe they don't have a copy of their lease, or maybe they don't have a copy of their license or something like that right there, but they can get started and then they can upload that information later on. Again, significant amount of small businesses applying already. We don't want to leave anybody out, but we do have to be realistic that the state can't leave the portal open forever.
Yeah. And Everett, while I got you, I want to be able to have an opportunity to share a little bit about Lendistry and the work that you do there. For somebody who may not be familiar with Lendistry, why don't you tell us?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. They can go to lendistry.com. A couple of things about us is we do run programs like this, like the grant programs in New York, NY Seed, NY Small Business Recovery. We are also the nation's only Black-led small business lending company, which means we can do SBA loans up to $5 million. We have other products that we do in terms of non-revolving lines of credit, term loans, commercial real estate loans. So there's a variety of different things. We're going to be partnering with the state of New York on what's called the State Small Business Credit Initiative. The best way to think about that is for those who might not have the best credit profile or might be a little bit light on collateral. The state is going to be able to backstop them with what we call loan guarantees. So there's going to be some interesting products coming up soon. If they stay with lendistry.com, they can join us on LinkedIn or some other social media, and they'll see most of those updates come through.
Yeah, well, everyone, thank you for joining us and spending some time with us. Certainly, I hope some businesses really tap in. It's been some rough times, but thank goodness there's some available help for them, especially in a time like this. Everett Sands, our guest, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Darren. Thanks, Proxnet.
All righty. Well, now, guess what? If you want more information, don't forget to visit the website at lendistry.com. And then also, you can see them on social media at Lendistry. All righty. We are taking a quick break, but when we return, we'll have more open coming up right after this.